So in episode 5, Monica goes through a litany of tests while they're also asking her what she experienced in Westview. She tells them that while she was in there was this feeling that kind of kept her down, this hopeless feeling. After going through a CAT scan, Wu and Darcy come in and give her a change of clothes because her clothes are currently in analysis. And they let her know that there's a briefing in about 10 minutes. But then the soldier that was doing the CAT scan comes over and says that they need to take the CAT scan again because there's nothing on it. It's blank. And they also need to take the lab work again because that came back blank. But Rambo ain't into that idea and says, "No, we're done here," and leaves. She then heads to the briefing where Hayward lets everybody know that thanks to Rambo's insight, they now know that Wanda is the main victimizer in all of this. Wu then gives everybody a backstory on who Wanda is in the briefing. In the middle of it, though, Hayward kind of cuts Wu off and kind of treats him like an idiot. Wu ends up walking over to Darcy and says, "I don't like to speak ill of people," and Darcy says, "Then allow me. He's a dick." At one point in the briefing, Hayward calls Wanda a terrorist, but Rambo goes, "Whoa, she's not a terrorist." And Hayward called her that because of Rambo's debriefing where she laid out that she was under mind control, that she was terrified. But Rambo says, "Well, I don't think she has any political agenda or any plan for destruction for that matter." They end up getting into a little bit of a spat because Hayward isn't giving an inch on his theory that Wanda's a terrorist, and Rambo is steadfast that no, she's not. She could have done a lot worse if she wanted to. Rambo tells the room, "I just don't think this is a premeditated act of aggression," but then Hayward shows them security camera footage of Wanda before the whole Westview fiasco popped off, breaking into Sword headquarters where Vision's body was located. And stealing Vision's body and resurrecting him is in violation of the Sokovia Accords, but it's also in violation of his own will and testament. He didn't want to be used as somebody's weapon. Hayward says that Wanda, in her grief, disregarded his wishes. Wu and Darcy, though, ponder on how Wanda was even able to bring Vision back without the Mind Stone. And Darcy has no idea, but what she's really concerned about is what happens when Vision learns the truth. And Vision's already kind of getting a sense of the truth. The new episode of WandaVision takes place in a late 80s sitcom, with Wanda having trouble taking care of the twins because they're babies, they're crying, and they need help. And Agnes shows up, but when she gives one of her lines, she turns to Wanda and says, "Do you want me to do that again?" It's an indication that Agnes knows that this is a TV show and she's playing a character, and it takes Vision a little back. While under the supervision of Agnes, the kids end up growing up pretty quickly to the age of about 6 or 7. And they also find a stray dog and name it Sparky and convince Wanda to keep it. And for the new dog, they need a collar, so Wanda uses her powers and creates one, but she does it right in front of Agnes, and that is something that her and Vision did not agree upon. They were supposed to keep their powers a secret, but Wanda's sick of doing that. It's also worth mentioning in this exchange that the kids age immediately from about 7 to the age of 10. Now, on the outside of Westview, Rambo is trying to figure out a way to get back inside. She's talking to Darcy to try to figure out how to safely re-enter Westview. And she says that she knows an aerospace engineer that would be up for the challenge of getting back in. And as she's getting in contact with this person, Darcy warns her, "I can't guarantee that the Hex," which is what Darcy's calling this force field, "won't wipe your mind." She also asks her, "Are you sure you want to go in there after all that she's put you through?" But Rambo assures her, "Yeah, I do. I want to go back in." Wu asks, "Have we identified the kids that are posing as Wanda's kids?" And Rambo says, "Wanda's twins are hers. Everything might look fake in the TV, but everything in there is actually real." Darcy says, "If all of the sets and the wardrobe and the props are all solid matter, then that means that Wanda is wielding an insane amount of power. It far exceeds anything she displayed in the past, but Rambo says she could have taken out Thanos if it wasn't for the fact that he kind of blitzed the group." Wu then brings up how Captain Marvel came close, and that is a touchy subject for Rambo, so she quickly changes it. She goes back to what Darcy was saying about the props and the sets and the wardrobe, and she heads to the lab where they're holding the clothes that she was wearing when she was thrown through the Hex. And she does a little experiment where she shoots a gun at it, and the bullets just ricochet off. Because when she was sucked into the Hex, she was wearing a bulletproof vest. And the diagnostics tell her that the pants are 87% Kevlar. Which means that what they see isn't an illusion, Wanda's just rewriting reality. And Rambo asks the question that if Wanda can change things when you go into the Hex, what happens when things don't need to be changed? So they send in an 80s technology type drone. That way it doesn't need to be changed, and that actually works. They can see Wanda. And when Wanda heard it, she headed outside, and she's staring at it as Rambo tries to make contact with her. But we don't actually know if Wanda can hear it because she's not responding. She is, however, staring at them with those red eyes. And when all of a sudden the drone's controls aren't working, Hayward instructs another guy to, quote, take the shot. And Rambo didn't know that this drone was armed, but it is. And when the guy tries to take the shot, the video cuts out, the show stops and the emergency alert starts going through the base. And that's because Wanda is walking out of the hex. And as she's doing so, she has guns pointed at her, but she's not worried at all about them. She throws the drone back at Hayward and says, "I'm assuming this is yours." He tells her the missile was just a precaution. You can hardly blame us, but she can in fact blame him for trying to kill her. She tells him, "This will be your only warning. Stay out of my home. You don't bother me, I won't bother you." But he tells her, unfortunately, it's not that simple. You've taken an entire town hostage. She points out, though, that she's not the one with the guns pointed at her. But Rambo says, "You are the one in charge, though." Rambo tries to plead with her, telling her that she didn't know the drones were armed and pointing out that she helped deliver her children. Somehow, deep down, Wanda does trust her. She tells her, "You know that deep down, I am an ally and I want to help you." But Wanda says, "What could you possibly help me with? I have everything I want, and no one is ever going to take it from me. Again." She then uses her powers to manipulate all of the soldiers and point their guns at Hayward. But it's just a scare tactic. They don't actually shoot. And once she walks back through the hex, the mind control stops. When Wanda goes back in, we get a commercial for Lagos paper towels, the perfect thing to clean up a mess with. But when she re-enters the hex, the kids have lost Sparky the dog. And when they locate him, it's Agnes who is holding his body because, unfortunately, Sparky the dog has died. And her kids, knowing that she has the power to bring something back to life, want her to do that. But Wanda's a little surprised that they, A, know that, and B, expect her just to bring the dog back. But as they continue to encourage Wanda to bring the dog back, Agnes says, "Can you really do that?" And that's when Vision has gotten back home from a very busy day at work. Because when he went in, the office just got new computers that were even hooked up to the internet. But as he was talking with Norm, they get an email. And it's from Darcy Lewis to SWORD and their top secret commission regarding Wanda and her powers and all she's found. But the weird thing is the entire office starts reading it aloud in sync. And it really weirds out Vision. And Norm just assumes it's a joke, but Vision knows that it was more. So he actually uses powers to zap Norm out of that Wanda trance that he's in. And as soon as he does it, Norm starts freaking out that he has to call his family, wears his cell phone, and he tells Vision she's in my head. He begs Vision to make her stop. And as soon as Vision zaps him back into that trance, he's back to being just that happy-go-lucky Norm. So the whole encounter was very, very weird to Vision, and he brings it up to Wanda. And he tells her that he spoke to the Norm that wasn't under her spell, and he was in pain. She tries to change the subject again, but he says, "No, you can't control me the way that you control everybody else." And she says to him, "But can't I?" And then all of a sudden the credits start rolling and she tries to go to bed, but he says, "No, what is the Maximoff phenomenon?" Which was something that was mentioned in that email from Darcy. She plays dumb, but he gets really pissed off, transforming into his old form, saying that Norm has a family, and he can't reach them because you won't let him. She continues to play dumb, and he screams at her to stop lying to him. She tells him, "All of this is for us, so let me handle it." But he asks her, "What's outside of Westview?" And she says, "You don't want to know." But he gets enraged, yelling at her, "You don't get to make that choice for me, Wanda." And another thing that really pisses him off is the fact that he can't remember anything before Westview. He has no idea who he is. She talks him down, saying, "You are my husband. You're Tommy and Billy's father. Isn't that enough?" But no, it's not enough. He has more questions, like, why are there no other children in Westview? And she acts like he's crazy, saying there are, but he says, "No, I walk by that playground every day to work. There's never any kids here." She looks at him and says, "Do you really think I'm controlling everything? That I'm in charge of everybody in Westview? That I mow their lawn, I walk their dogs?" She admits to him that she doesn't know how any of this started in the first place. And Vision tells her, "What you're doing here, it's wrong." But then suddenly the doorbell rings, and Wanda tells Vision, "I didn't do that," but he doesn't believe her. And when she gets up and goes to answer the door, to her shock, as well as the viewing audience, which includes Darcy, her brother Pietro is back. Thank you so much for watching this recap. Please consider subscribing to the channel. Like the video if you liked it. Hit thumbs down if you thought it sucked. If you don't see the next video up in the end screen, don't worry, it'll be up soon. And please be nice in the comments section. Nobody likes being told they suck, even if it's true. Oh, and sharing's caring.